Dead man walking. That's not just the subject of this video, but it's also me slightly, because I've been coughing shitloads all day. Yes, I'm a zombie. Nonetheless. Okay, everybody. Cream Crazy here. Ready for... What number are we on now? 52 or something? I'm not entirely sure. But then again, this is a weekend rant, as you would obviously expect. And, well, gonna say this before I get this started. Click the subscribe button if you haven't up there. You can also like Cream Crazy's Wrestling Rant on Facebook, ask me Q&A questions, and search CreamCrazyWR on Skype, just in case you want to talk about some wrestling shit. Cool. Right, now this little video today is something I came out with an idea with. I think when I was talking to NJ, the British Fist, we kind of came thinking, yeah, I could do a video of the Undertaker's personal retrospect, so to speak. And I have been wondering about this video because Undertaker is one of my all-time favorites in so many ways. And yet, I've never really had a look at his career in a complete, not complete retrospect, but in a retrospect when looking at my opinion on certain aspects of his career. And I love him for many, many ways, but also I can find the negatives and go, what the fuck did they do there? Because, well, a lot of reasons I can say some negatives. The great thing about me is I can say bad things about things I like, which, to be honest, a lot of people who like things will often just say the good things and won't bother to really understand the negatives. Sorry if I'll be coughing a lot throughout this video. And I find it's best to know the negatives of something you like, because then in a video like this, you can kind of go from one end to the other and still pack in everything. Now, I'm going to center on a lot of things. I mean, first off, there's gimmick, then matches, feuds, and overall opinion, and also moveset. Because moveset for Undertaker, bloody important in my opinion. And I tell you now, he was my all-time favourite until Punk came along. So that kind of shows just where I hold him in not just the respect line, but just in general terms of a wrestler as a whole. He's definitely up there in terms of everyone's opinion. But it's some people obviously don't like Undertaker. It's your opinion. Want to say anything anything about anything I say in this video, comment section down there. I appreciate every thought you guys give. Now, first off, I'm going to look on the gimmick, because obviously there are only two gimmicks The Undertaker has really had. And there's the Dead Man, which he had from, of course, the start of his career in multiple different incarnations of and tones. Of course, if you look at the Corporate Ministry compared to his debut, not the Corporate Ministry, well, it's the Ministry of Darkness in any way or form. You then kind of think tame and darkness to satanic and ridiculously evil. You kind of think, well, that's two sides of the fucking coin. Shows the advancement of the character. Then when the character got tired and Taker wanted to bloody do something different, he came back, of course, with the American Badass. Now, the Dead Man gimmick, I've always I've always liked it, but at the same time, I've always had issues with it. Now, sure, the stage theatrics, the entrance is a wonder. The first time I saw it live, 2007, I was actually frightened a little bit. My brother probably didn't notice, but it was something that I was in awe of, because I'd obviously been hyped up by the WWE propaganda machine and quite a lot of fans, that it was something fantastic, and fucking hell it is. I mean, even on a small scale on Raw, SmackDown, you realise it is something significant. I mean, I'd love to see it at WrestleMania. My God, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? And of course, he has had some very good matches as part of this gimmick. Many matches which, in cases, he innovated. Many matches in which he put his career together with. And in the case of the last couple of years, defined it fully. Although I will say one thing, I never truly like the mic work of the Dead Man gimmick. I always find it's very predictable, very easy to imitate, as I have done millions of times before in my own time. And I feel it's very basic. It doesn't actually change a lot from its original standpoint. And that's something which it always relies on a catchphrase, isn't it? Rest in peace is probably the only one I can think of off the top of my fucking head. And it's just, you could have done something more imaginative. I mean, sure, in the feud with Kane, it was bloody imaginative what he would be saying. It made him more human in the case of him being in feud with Kane in 1997, 98. The dead man became more human, which was good. Because, like, I'm not going to fight you, Kane. And it gave that sense of just urgency to the character that, yeah, he's supernatural, but he definitely isn't invulnerable. Something we need to bloody well put forward, that he has been buried alive twice. Well, actually, at that point, it was twice. Because, well, yeah, Badass got the other one. And I don't know. I always find also with the gimmick that when you feud with The Undertaker, the way The Undertaker uses his mind games in there, it's good. Because in many different ways, if you saw the feuds of Randy Orton, you saw, and actually in the return with Kane, all the supernatural elements, the rain falling into the ring and the stage, which one of my personal favourite dead man moments. You've also got the lightning hitting the ropes and and other parts of the stage. All that stuff is fun, but you know, I've never found the concept of the dead man character to basically repeat himself. Eerie promos or eerie spoken word vignettes with his face not even there, and it's all basically all the same. And I looking back on it, that's one of the reasons I've gotten sick with Undertaker, because every time you're in a feud with him, it's the same thing. I mean, sure, you look at the promos for the recent Triple H feud. Almost every time he came out in a hooded top, and a hooded cloak, I should say, and spoke in a low-toned voice, very slowly, and it was really samey, and you didn't get much difference. Even in emotion, you didn't get much difference from Taker. When Triple H changed from calm to ridiculously angry, it's something that never connected with me. While the American Badass, however, I have to say now, if you know me, you know that this is my favourite Undertaker gimmick, simply because it was the gimmick that was around when I started watching, and I kind of got more immersed into why I loved Undertaker. But it epitomised to me why I loved Undertaker so much, because it embodied a no-nonsense, I'm going to beat your ass because I fucking can attitude. And that's something that I seriously not only thought The Undertaker had, but Mark Calloway had. Because that's Taker's real name, if you didn't know. And I feel that's fantastic. Because then you had unpredictability all over. Because the dead man would not have turned heel on JR and shoved his face into Mr. McMahon's ass. Well, that heel turn would have never happened as the dead man, would it? No, because it would have had to be wrapped up in the occult for some reason. And it made him basically it fitted the name, a badass. And it to me was so real. Everything you say, you could think, oh, it's a threat, he fucking means it. And you could take it more literally. Because when it's not shrouded in gimmickry and kayfabe, it punches you in the face a lot more, because you can feel, okay, this guy's threatening to take someone out. I'm going to fucking believe it. When he beats up David Flair in the build-up to WrestleMania X8, you really think he's going to hurt him. Same with him beating the shit out of Maven. It really seems plausible. And and the music was better, too, for me. I mean, of course, the second remix that you got it now was a bit shit. The one before it was gold. It wasn't rolling, it was the one in between both of those. And I tell you now, if you can't find it, try and find it, because it is fucking awesome. I always feel that even though it only lasted 3 years, it was a golden period, in my opinion, in terms of the feud building, because he could just do anything and basically tear people to shreds. It's basic, I know, and you'd say it's formulaic, but then that allows creativity, it allows all kinds of shit to go down, and it's funner. I mean, sure, the quality of great matches The Undertaker did in this time is, I would say, small, but it was for a very small time period compared to the dead man, so we can't really draw it out and compare. I mean, for honesty's sake, I mean, for me, it's obviously very nostalgic. I loved it mostly because of those things. I mean, Taker as the dead man, I've grown sick of. while the American Badass and go, yeah, this is awesome. I'd love to see it back again, but I know it's not going to happen. But that's just my opinion, folks. I mean, the Badass is just a symbol. It's very simple as a symbol of the Undertaker, but the fact is, it's the one that, in my opinion, certifies it the most. I mean, sure, the Undertaker is the dead man gimmick, but just to make it more down-to-earth, real, and basically much more blunt, you can't go far from the American Badass. I know some of you are going to kick me in the comments section by saying you're wrong, you can't believe the American Badass is better, but then again, that's what opinion stands for. I mean, sure, I will agree, the Dead Man had, I believe, more matches that had significant value, but in my opinion, the American Badass gimmick had significant, in terms of intense feuds. Intense feuds. I'll get onto those later. The matches, and these are significant in many ways, because for me, he innovated some of my favourite matches. Well, I say some, I mean two of them. Buried Alive match and Hell in a Cell. Two of my favourite gimmick matches ever, and he bloody well innovated them. Simple fact, every time they're promoted, I go mental. When the Kane Undertaker one was promoted at Bragging Rights 2010, I was interested because I love the Buried Alive match. It's different, anything can happen, and I fucking love it. It's also like the Inferno match, the Casket match, the Last Ride match. Those three matches, pretty damn good to stick on a card, aren't they? And I feel not many people can stick matches they've innovated in a list like that. Not many wrestlers can say they've done it. And that's something I got to tip my hat off to the gimmick for, at least. Because if it wasn't for the Dead Man gimmick, you would not see any of that. I mean, sure, steel chain on a pole match for the Dead Man. I mean, that was only a one-time thing, and also the on a pole concept had already been done to death by that point. Some of the Divas matches in the 2000s, check those out to see what I mean. And it's sure, that's a bit of an issue there, but then again, like I said, when you do away with some of these gimmicky matches, you then see a more blunter side, and it doesn't need them. But nonetheless, always great innovative matches. Most of them are fantastic. I mean, casket matches do have their low points, if not in a good enough feud. Henry, I'm looking in your direction. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have faked a cough before coughing myself. And I have to say, the great matches that he has had, Undertaker has had some of the best matches I've ever seen. The only problem is most of them have happened in the last 5 years. Yeah, some of them have happened in the last 5 years. Mostly Shawn Michaels, both of them. I'm not even going to think about choosing. Angle. I mean, the Angle match in No Way Out 06. If you haven't watched that, you're missing out on a classic. Then you've got, Batista. Oh, no, that was in 07, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It roughly falls in the same-ish line. And he also had the matches of Triple H, obviously. So you can kind of say some of the best matches ever, bam, right there. Good. And we had some before that as well. I mean, he had the Mick Foley matches, which is, of course, well, some of the best ever done in terms of violence and, in some cases, weirdness as well. Along with, of course, well, I would only point this out as being one great match. Lesnar in Hell in a Cell. Bloodbath extraordinaire. Go check that out if you haven't. But, of course, I have to say, early on in his career, Taker was littered with shit matches. And I have to say, for honest opinion, Giant Gonzalez sticks out like the biggest sore thumb known to man. Not just in the match, but also the feud. Here, Harvey Whippleman, we're going to thank you for this one later when you somehow get inducted in the Hall of Fame. If that ever happens, I will rip whatever's left of my hair out. Because honestly, kill that match. I want to burn it with fire. I mean, also, I always somehow get reminded of this, that SummerSlam 2000, not 2000, burn my tongue off or something. I got that wrong again. He had a match with Kamala at SummerSlam 1992. At the same SummerSlam where we had Warrior Savage and Bulldog Bret Hart, we had Kamala Undertaker. Come on! You gotta tell me that's complete shit. Because Kamala was. I'm sorry the guy's had his legs amputated recently, but that doesn't really factor in anything. It was still awful. Plus, a series of matches with Hogan in the 90s and 2000s. Sorry. Take a deep breath. All of which were over the WWF/WWE Championship. Now, I've got the Judgment Day 2002 DVD up in the pile there. And I tell you now, the promo is fantastic. The match itself sucks ass. And it proved again why I hate Hogan. You know, the usual you get from me in that department. Then, of course, the match with Sid Vicious, WrestleMania 13. When I hold my hand up, that was a bit poor as well. And in the early career, Taker... I would even go the matches with Yokozuna as well, because trying to wrestle with a guy that big, it's not going to be easy for you. I mean, early on in his career, Taker really didn't get much of it. It was only really against Shawn Michaels that he really started having good matches. Oh, I had Bret Hart as well. I could probably go on that. Did he have any? Oh, I didn't have many with Bret, but still, a decent one to go for. Oh, God, I didn't feel very good. I think it kind of fits in with the fact that Bret Hart often wrestled with the wrestlers while Undertaker got stuck in with the gimmicks a lot. Does that point out something? I hope it does, people, because it showed something in his early career, gimmicks with gimmicks, and everything, and everyone else with everyone else. I hope it's a point that you guys can put forward. Feuds. Now, if you split the best feuds for The Undertaker for both gimmicks, there are a few which stand out. Now, the Dead Man gimmick has Kane, the first incarnation of which. No, I'm not talking about the 2010 feud. Sorry. I'm talking about the first feud in the mid-90s. The mid to late 90s, I should say. Technically one of the most and best talked feuds in terms of hype and promotion you're ever going to see, because they didn't fight between October 97 and March 98. That is 5 months. How can a feud be built without a single confrontation for 5 months? A lot of things. Casket match, interruption in Hell in a Cell, which started it all, return on Raw in a blaze of glory. I mean, to be honest, there you go. It's the fact that it built up on hype that you wanted to see Kane get his ass kicked, and it fucking happened, but it took 3 tombstones to do it. And basically, it is one of the best feuds in terms of structure I've ever seen. The Stone Cold feuds in 1999 sometimes are often forgotten about. I would even say slightly in 98 as well. Very good stuff. I mean, obviously, if you're going to get in a feud with Stone Cold, you're going to get good stuff. I mean, in the lead up to the Buried Alive match at Rock Bottom 98, that promo says enough for itself. Take it as some of his best stuff there. Matches with Foley at any point from 96 to roughly 99, because him and... Oh, no, actually, they weren't teaming, because Rock and Sock lost in a Buried Alive match in SmackDown in late 99, so it all works out for me. I think the Foley feuds defined Taker as just a ruthless, evil guy. And it definitely worked well, until Paul Bearer kind of switched sides, and then everything just went completely over on one end. I mean, honestly, I think it was a good lot. Then, Randy Orton and Batista from the latter era. Can't deny those two were fantastic. Made Orton huge, I might add, and gave Batista some legitimacy for the first time in his career. I mean, sure, the Triple H feud for Batista was brilliant, but feuding with Taker gives you legitimacy. Put that down as a legitimate point as well. It's true. It's damn true. Fucking hell, I've got to stop coughing. Ugh. Then we get to the American Badass ones. And there are only a couple, because obviously he wasn't really around too long with it to make gimmicks stand out, feuds stand out, really. I mean, there's Triple H, pre-2011, may I add. Very personal feud. Very personal feud. It lasted only about a month or so, but it was bloody awesome. Brock Lesnar. I mean, obviously, the feud was not as good as I remember it, really. Mostly because I have to remind myself of Sarah, that's it. And, of course, this random woman in the affair business. It was more the intensity of two big guys beating each other up that made the feud work, because You had no idea which one was going to lose. And that's what made it so good, because you never bloody could tell, which made the matches and every occurrence of interaction something of a battle of one-upsmanship, and you got to respect that. And of course, not going to deny this one its place in the American Badass line, but Ric Flair, personal as hell. And my God, I often seem to think it shouldn't have really ended. Well, it was carried over in the draft, in the brand extension. Taker was drafted to Raw, and Flair was basically hounded for it. Wasn't beaten up for it, but still, at one point, it's still good to point that out. It did continue slightly, but not too much. I mean, it was a great, intense feud in the build lead up to WrestleMania X8. Not going to lie. Fantastic feud. Agree with me? There's a comment section. Bloody hell. However, again, got to point this out. Taker has been in some of the worst. The feud with the Un-Americans, I only really hate because of the patriotism involved. You know how I fucking hate that. Definitely point that out. It is a major thing. The DDP stalker angle. Basically, if anyone liked that, I don't know what you see in it, but it's Taker's version of Katie Vick, but not on a worse scale. I cannot believe I've just compared the DDP stalker angle to... Oh my God. Someone's going to kill me for that, I am sure. Oh God. The Big Show feud in early 2003. Now, the defining image of this feud, for me, and I remember watching this on an edition of SmackDown when I was flicking over in my early times of watching, this big birthday present for the Undertaker. So, oh, the Big Show's here in this package, and Heyman and Brother Love springs out of it, and Heyman's just laughing his ass off, and then he gets beaten up. And you know, that feud never did anything for me. It demeaned the Big Show and kind of took Heyman from a legitimate manager to nothing. And I hated that. I really did, because it's wasting Paul Heyman. And I think that feud never really got anywhere. However, the Dead Man gimmick has always had a few... I mean, I've mentioned the Kamala shit already. I've mentioned Giant Gonzalez already. I mean, there's about two others I can name from the Dead Man side, which are not very good. I mean, they're recent ones. Mark Henry. I mean, honestly, who would have thought putting Mark Henry in a feud with Taker was a good idea? Sure. Built him up as a big monster heel. But what's about it when it didn't work? Henry went off as a monster heel years later and is much more successful because of it. Then again, it's because we know he is never going to bloody well beat The Undertaker in a one-on-one contest. It makes perfect sense to put that forward. Sorry about that. The Great Khali. Now, I have a conflicting argument about this, because when Khali first came in, it was a big impact. It was a big moment. But obviously now, looking how the feud went, it was poor, it was shit, and it was repeated further down the line, about a year or so later. So, I don't know why I even need to bother thinking about why that was good, because it was not very good in retrospect. And plus, in my opinion, people might hate me on this, but they might see the point. Feud with CM Punk in 2009. Now, mostly because Taker squashed him in the Hell in a Cell and made Punk look worthless, which I don't think is a very good idea for a feud. But it shows also, again, the limitations of the Dead Man gimmick. Comes back in a match, lays out Punk, then they go into one match. Taker somehow wins via some form of cheating to then beat the shit out of the guy next chance he gets. And it's all the same supernatural gimmick. You see what I mean? It all comes to fruition at some point. And then finally, everybody, going on to the moveset. I'm sorry if I'm not really taking a break. I'm trying to speak as much as I can while my voice is hoarse as shit. Right. So first on the finishers. Now, the finishing maneuvers, obviously, I will say, the American Badass gimmick only had really one finisher given to it. That was a unique finisher to it. The Last Ride. And I gotta tell you, I love the Last Ride powerbomb. Because it's a powerbomb on a nearly 7 foot tall guy, well, 6'10". 6'10" guy doing a powerbomb. You think, okay, what could he do to make that even more impactful? Nobody raises you up more. And you're thinking, that guy lands, his back is either going to be broken, his head's going to be fucked, and he's not going to move. Because you knew the minute you were hit by the last ride, you are done. Now sure, the same could be said for the dead man about the tombstone. Because your head is being impacted headfirst onto the canvas, and yeah, you're done. Which is the good thing, because both those moves, technically quite simple to pull off. Well, not in the pile driver's case, but both those moves are synonymous with putting people away, and it bloody well did the job. The only other thing that the Dead Man gimmick had over American Badass in the finishing maneuver department is the recent addition of Hell's Gate. Because whoever does not think that cannot cripple somebody has no idea how the move actually would properly work if it was held in ridiculously realistically. Your larynx could get crushed and malformed. That's something I bet you don't want to have over your thought in your mind when you're trying to do that at home. Don't try this at home, kids. I should have brought a cup of water in here, actually. Both these finishing moves, of course, they also had, both gimmicks had old school and a choke slam. Choke slam, very notable, very easy to use for a big guy like Undertaker. Old school, however, even today, I look at old school and wonder, how the hell is a 6'10", randomly around 280 to 300 pound guy being able to stand on those ropes with such agility and composure? Okay, sure, it is down to the fact he's had a shitload of practice with it over how many years he's been doing it. But at the same time, it confounds you that it's happening. And that's brilliant to see you go, what the fuck? How is... And it really surprises me these days to see him do it now. I think, wow. Actually, you know what? It surprises me even more that he does suicide dives. Look back at WrestleMania 25. We thought Taker had broken his neck, and one of the best matches we'd ever seen was dead. Just like the career and the streak was. But it wasn't. Everything was fine. But you can see, even doing those over-the-top planches and suicide dives, you think, fuck, a guy at his age should not be doing that. God! It's not right. But honestly, he's that damn good, he's going to do it. I've been looking back, though, over the tapes, over the videos, and I've been thinking, both of these movesets that Taker has had, in both gimmicks, have a fundamentally more different style to them. I think the Dead Man gimmick is a lot more striking based. Obviously, he isn't called the best striker in the WWE for nothing, and obviously that's where Taz kind of made the moniker for it. And also the fact that he uses grapples to be impactful to finish matches or lead up to big finishing maneuvers like the tombstone. And I think that's great. He wears them down slowly throughout the course of a match, and that's something great when you're looking at in-ring psychology when you're supposed to go on a body part. American Badass, however, much more grapples, showing of strength majoritively, and in a lot of cases, especially in the Dead Man Inc. Big Evil gimmick part of the transition of that, when he squashed people on a regular basis. He was hardcore champion, for God's sake. Why do I need to put that there? I'm amazed, actually, he lost the hardcore title in the first place. But, I mean, also, there was more weapon usage. Because he's a biker, he could use weapons at any point. Lead pipe, steel chain, chair, anything could come to his head. I just reminded myself of another good match the American Badass had. Versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match. I often forget that one. Oh, God. Sorry, Pete, guys. I'm just going to have to cough up some phlegm. Sorry about that. For benefit, I need to make sure this cold is over and done with by the time I finish. Not just this video, but the end of the week. Haha. And I mean, I've looked back at a load of Undertaker's career here. It's not all of it, because I could go into the backstage politics of how he's ridiculously respected, which he is, and all that stuff. But the one thing I know is that even with the bad things, the good things, what I can perceive to be good, what you perceive to be good, and what we both could perceive to be bad, Taker has done a lot. And I probably haven't touched on everything, but I've only got a small amount of time here. Taker is one of those special guys who's, one, changed his gimmick and made it stick and become fresh. He's put on fantastic matches at many stages in his career, despite being littered with some shit. He has varied his moveset to suit said gimmicks. He's made feuds engaging. His entrance is a sight of brilliance that makes you fear and respect him at the same time because you know what it's worth. And for the most part, by looking at his career, you know, by looking at The Undertaker, by looking at his streak, which I will say at this point should not end unless a person who is good enough and young enough, that person should beat it. But the streak, everything involved with The Undertaker, it makes him bigger than not just the WWE, but in my opinion, wrestling in itself. Because there are many technical marvels of the industry. There are many gimmicks that have become synonymous. But there have never been, in my honest opinion, from my wrestling brain of nearly 10 years, a person who has encompassed a technical wrestling brain, a technical wrestling attitude and body as well, of not just work but also physical acumen, and the general brilliance of a gimmick all sticking together. I've just repeated myself. I am lightheaded. I am ill. The fact is, Undertaker is one unto himself, because you've got Taker, I believe, in not just the greats of all time, but the general upper echelons of what you would legitimately call a wrestling god. Because for over 22 years, this guy has done it all. He's won the Royal Rumble, he's won the titles, he's main evented WrestleManias, he has put on brilliant matches, brilliant feuds. I've already gone through that list already. And I feel there is never going to be a guy like Undertaker again. Because no one, even at 10 years in the industry, at that point, in the American Badass gimmick, was given more respect by the fans than anyone The Undertaker. Because Taker is just that damn good. Now, I can understand people have their negatives about him. But even the haters, even the doubters of The Undertaker can admit that they respect him. Because he's done it all, and he's done it too well. I mean, to me, the only guys you can really stick up there in the God category would probably be Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair. And obviously a few others from the 70s, which, like Bruno Sammartino, possibly. I could probably go on, but my mind isn't working very well right now. There are a load of others, but it'll be very difficult to find some who are defined as gods in this industry. And I congratulate you, Undertaker, because at WrestleMania this year, we might have seen your last match. We don't know yet. And I have to say, if we have seen your last match, what a great way to end it on. Because your streak was intact, you put on a show, and the world does what it does when you're there. Stands up, applauds, and stands in awe of your ability. And even from my personal level, you're not my favourite wrestler of all time. You will always be one that I probably care about and respect more than any of them. Sure, I love CM Punk, you all know it. But for Undertaker, to me, it's on a completely different level. And it should be the same way, hopefully, for you. It's just how it is, kids. And I'm going to end it there, guys. Thank you so much. I hope you've been okay to deal with my cough and the relative hoarseness of my voice and the very long droning aspect of this video, but you know what? It's just how it goes. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. Just remember, I'm going to remind you again, just in case you forgot at the beginning, subscribe up there. I really appreciate it if you do. Comment down there on anything. You can like the video as well, because Those thumbs up mean a lot. You can also like me on Facebook, I've already mentioned. Search me on Skype, it'll all be down there in the description. Also, ask me some Q&A questions. Doing it in the Extreme Rules weekend, people. Haven't got too long to get your questions in. Haven't received a few in a while, so I'm hoping you guys can give me something good. You got that? Huh? Feeling lucky, punk? Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Cream Crazy. You've been people watching. This has been an Undertaker analysis, career analysis, and retrospect video. And I, at this moment, just like the Undertaker would say, will rest in peace.